What's up, my dudes? Welcome to the Itty Bitty City Titty Committee. We're going to be talking about the potential for cities in No Man's Sky. Now, this has always been sort of a kind of a fan theory, fan fiction. You know, people's always kind of thought there could be potential for that in this game right here. And I want you guys just to take a little look over here at this planet to my left. You see how there's kind of little like lit up areas on the planet. There's like little orange, I don't even know what they actually are, but it almost gave me that feeling like that could be actual lights radiating from different cities within the planet. And this just kind of gave me that feeling like, and then having all these ships down here like they're really flying into a highly trafficked area on the planet. It just gave me that feeling like, whoa, dude, would that not be crazy if there really was like cities on some of these planets? And I did actually make a bit of a kind of mini little skyscraper city within my base building that I did in this game. I don't actually have it anymore because I had to make a new save. But so basically, like, I pretty much literally had skyscrapers in this game when there really wasn't any of them anywhere else in the game. Like, you could basically make them with the in-game base builder. So that was a really cool thing that I did, and it was kind of put that thought in my head like, dude, would this not be kind of cool to see this just out in the middle of the world? Now, those things that I was telling you guys looked like cities down on the planet obviously weren't, but it just kind of gave me that feeling, you know, that visual feeling, seeing it from a distance. It was just like, dude, that would be crazy having certain planets that were like that just felt like, that just gave you that super feeling of, I don't even really know how to explain it, but like more civilized alien colonies and things like that. That would be a very interesting thing. But what I was saying though is on my base that I built, I actually had I had it to where like it was the kind of either the standard round little base object, or I think there was actually a square one too, but you could just build those like basically straight up. I mean, you could actually make it look exactly like what a skyscraper looks like, and you could build them up pretty far, dude. Like, I mean, I would say the height how I had those buildings in the game were probably maybe like 6 or 7 times as tall as this tree over here. And that's stuff that was already in the game. Like, you could build a base like that. It wasn't like I'm over here just like did this in a mod or like, you know, whatever. Like, I literally built this in the current form of No Man's Sky. So there's basically already cities in the game. It's just a matter of how they're going to put it in there, how they're going to integrate it. But I don't see it being too much of a far-fetched idea. I mean, I definitely think it is a possibility that in the current state, basically what happens is you'll just come across these little, kind of like this thing right up here in front of me, where it's more just like outpost or kind of like encampments or a area where you can like land your ship down, like a ship docking station or whatever, but you don't see any sort of cities of any kind. That's one thing that's basically totally missing from No Man's Sky. And I don't know. I mean, I think it would be very cool if they made it to where there's certain places on some planets that have like just one building with one alien in it, and it's kind of like that alien's home planet, or like they were kind of like a native to that planet or something. That'd be kind of cool. Or like, you know, you get on one planet and there's just cities everywhere on the planet, or maybe there's just one city on the planet, or, you know, have just absolutely full scale of variation within that. But even though I say that, if they do end up putting cities or whatever in the game, I don't want every planet to have cities. I want there to be some planets that don't have any structures on them whatsoever. You understand what I'm saying there? And I think that's a really big thing to No Man's Sky right now, is it seems like just about every planet you get on has like a certain core selection of things that you could just about find on every single planet. Like, for instance, just about every single planet is going to have carbon, trees of some kind, or some sort of rock with iron in it, or whatever, or, every single planet is going to have, I don't know if there's any planet in this game that doesn't have at least one area that's like an outpost like this, or a building of some sort. So I think if they kind of expand that variation a little bit, if they ever do really decide to put cities in there, I think it's a matter of only doing it on certain planets. Make it more of a special thing to come across a city. Don't just like put a city on every single planet in one spot, because then that'll just make it feel really weird. And I like there to be some planets that truly feel like there hasn't been a single soul landed on them ever. And I'm talking about IRL souls and in-game AI souls. Like there hasn't been any living life form on it whatsoever. Or at least you don't know if there is. There could be some sort of creature on it that you haven't really figured out yet, and that's kind of the fun, spooky, cool element to it there. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting idea. Now, I don't think it's going to be to the point where you've got like just 50,000 skyscrapers across one planet and there's like city streets, and I don't ever think it's going to get like super, super extreme, but I do think you will see bigger structured compounds and stuff in the future in this game. More interesting places to go as far as like, alien outpost and compounds, and I think that's definitely something they could improve upon and could expand, and it just making that more varied. When you do come across one randomly, it's like, whoa, I've never seen this kind of place before, or whoa, not just like a feeling of seeing the same thing over and over, like I've seen that same compound 10,000 times over. I think they can really get in there and make a lot of variation within their different base building actual pieces that they have in the game. They could go in there and make it to where there's basically, you could come across an outpost, but it's not a character created outpost like a real life character, but it still uses all of the base building components. So it looks kind of like maybe a base that is built by a real person, but it's not. It's built by the in-game procedural generation, and you can go explore these randomly built bases that could be any scale, different variation of any of the different customization base building pieces in the game. I think that would be a very cool thing for them to add to it. I think that would definitely help, and that's what I'm saying. That's basically already in there. They just have to kind of figure out how to do it. Now, one thing I did think would be very, very cool is almost like maybe on a desert, one of the desert planets or something, they've got like some kind of humongous pyramid monument, ruin structure of some sort. And when I say humongous, I mean like taller than that mountain over there, humongous. I'm not talking about like one little baby pyramid that you can just like jetpack right over. I'm talking about massive pyramids where you can actually go down in them and discover things in them, and that's what I'm talking about. How having more of that just random crap to do on the planets, like random ruin, structures, random more stuff than feeling like you're. I mean, I love planets that feel like you're truly out in the middle of nature, and I think they definitely need to keep that aspect on a lot of the planets. But I do think it would be cool to get more of that like alien civilized kind of style into the game, and feeling to the game. I just think it would be kind of a cool, a cool addition to it, and something that just give it a little bit more variation and eye candy within the planets. I feel like it would definitely help it in that sense. But yeah, I mean, this is something we were talking about from the very, very get-go of No Man's Sky. Oh, wouldn't that be crazy if there were cities in this game? Like, this is not like really a super new idea. It's honestly not. We have been talking about this from day one, but like whenever I get, okay, let me see if I can kind of show that again. So whenever I get pretty far away from the planet, it's not really going to show it too good right here. It's kind of like when the lighting, the way I was sitting there at the very beginning of the video, it was like the way the sun was shining directly on something orange down in the planet. I don't know if it was like the orange mountains or what it was exactly, but it really made it look like, you know how when you look on like real life Earth pictures, or even though they don't really have very many of those, questionably, that's all. I've always found that to be quite bizarre. When you go look up like real life Earth pictures, it's not, a lot of them look like they're not even real. I've always thought that to be very bizarre about real life, but yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it, when you start talking about space and doing all that. But what I was saying, though, is like, you know how those sort of pictures where you see Earth from like far away, but you can see the cities and stuff, and it's like it's radiating this light up from the actual planet. Well, that's kind of what this planet looked like at the very beginning of this video right here when I was looking down on it. So that's what like really spiked my mind into thinking about making this video right here about the towns and cities and stuff. Like I'm saying, it's just kind of a, you know, there's obviously aliens, there's obviously like intelligent alien life forms, not just creature alien life forms in this game. So it is one of those things where, you know, they're capable of selling you ships. They're capable of becoming, you know, faction friendly with you, all this different stuff. So it does seem as if, since you can build bases on these planets, why don't those aliens build bases or whatever on these planets? And they kind of have had that a little bit from day one in No Man's Sky, like I was telling you guys, with a certain outpost and this, that, and another, but I feel like there definitely could be more of that on certain planets, right? It's just, you know, like I'm saying, I don't want to see cities on every single planet. It's just one of those things. I think it would be cool to have it on certain ones, and on the ones that they choose to have it on, make it more prevalent, make it more of a thing. Like you come across this truly big looking civilization where there's all kinds of aliens and you can trade with them and you know, do all different kinds of stuff. And I think that'd be a lot more cool interactive gameplay, more so than only having the where you're kind of, you feel like you're just interacting up in a space station all the time. That's kind of what it feels like right now currently in the game. It just kind of feels like that's the only time you're really seeing aliens. I mean, you do it's a very rare occasion to see an alien down on an actual building on a planet. That's a fairly like rare occasion in this game, and it would be even cool to just see random civilized aliens just walking along the planet. And like, let's just say you walk over here and there's a ship landed on the ground and there's that alien just out walking around, possibly gathering resources or whatever. So kind of similar to like how a real player would be in this game, but it's AI. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes any sense to you at all. Like, basically, you can have just those ships that you see flying into the space stations that are just AI. It would be really cool to see those exact things flying around on the actual planets and landing anywhere on the planets. And, you know, actually, you can see the alien itself getting out of the ship and going around and doing stuff. But then it's going to get into that topic of, like, you know, you have your sort of, like, civilized alien factions in the game, but how many more factions are they going to add? You know, that's kind of where it gets tricky, because with the creatures, it's a lot easier to deal with that, because you can have any sort of creature on any planet, and they're going to be expanding that sort of creature variation. I guarantee you, here in the near future, they'll be expanding that, and it just makes it to where you can just have more and more creatures, and it starts to give you that feeling of like there's unlimited amount of creatures out there. But with these sort of sophisticated alien races, there's only like 3 or 4 of them in the game, and what it is basically like they all have sort of a standard look to them, but there's just little facial features that are different and stuff like that. So that definitely does get to looking somewhat repetitive, but when there's only like 4 of those factions, it kind of feels like it's a bit limited. So I don't know, it'd be cool to see like something like 100 factions in the game or something, you know, wild like that. If they could somehow manage to get the way that their creatures are varied, somehow put that into making actually civilized, humanoid-ish looking sophisticated aliens that are actually in factions, making it to where there's almost like an unlimited amount of those, it seems like. You understand what I'm saying? Just how the creatures are, it'd be cool to see kind of an unlimited, like, alien faction type of thing. So every time you land on a planet, you could see a whole new alien faction that you've never even seen before at all. You don't even know what they look like at all. That would be a very cool thing to see. And I know some of you guys that aren't really No Man's Sky fans are totally lost at this point, me talking about it like that. But the No Man's Sky fans know what I'm talking about. If you're really following me there while I was saying that, you'll be like, hell yeah, dog, that'd be sick. And that's kind of how I thought the game would have been from the very beginning. I was thinking the factions would have been like just anything you could possibly imagine, because it's all procedurally generated. But once you actually get into the game, you realize it's kind of these 3 or 4 pre-made factions, and there's really not a whole lot of variation within each one of the different actual aliens in the game. There's not actually a whole lot of visual variation to that, so that'd be really cool to see. But yeah, man, it's definitely an interesting topic, interesting idea, nonetheless, with the whole cities and everything like that. And I do think as far as the base building, they need to make that to where you can build it anywhere on any planet. Don't just restrict you to those one areas on the planets, those flat areas on the planets. I don't like how they did that. And you can only build bases on certain planets. There's some planets you can't even build a base on. I find that to be kind of crazy, and I think it would be cool where you could just build as many bases as you wanted to. I don't see what the problem is with that, personally, honestly. I don't know. They allow you to put as many of those little, things where you can, like, leave messages for other real-life people that come through and land on the planet and stuff. That should kind of be how the bases are, in my opinion, as well. Like, you can just build as many bases as you want to on any planet that you want to, so that you don't feel like you're stuck in that one solar system or whatever. You just kind of feel like you can build anywhere you want to build, and not just feeling like you're kind of restricted to these certain areas. But if you guys look over here, that's about the size of the pyramid that I'm talking about. Like that right there. That's fine and dandy. See how it's almost like it's already in the game, but it's just not in the game. Instead of it being like this really cool walk inside discoverable ruin pyramid, it's just a rock in the game, but it's almost the same thing. So it's like and that's how a lot of things are with No Man's Sky. It's almost like it's already in the game. It's just a matter of they just have to actually get the gameplay integration working with each one of those things properly, and then they'll have it. They'll have it made there. But I think if they expand upon that ruin design and all that kind of stuff, that's really going to help the game. Like actually making dungeon sort of areas in the game and more ruins, and not making them to where they feel like just such a rare thing. Like you might find one ruin on a planet, but that's about it. You're not going to like come across this humongous long in a cave dungeon or anything like that. So either way, that's about all I have to say about that. I have no idea if we'll ever get any of that, but just some cool ideas, kind of throwing some random stuff out here. So yeah, man, either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Don't forget, I have all of my No Man's Sky videos in a playlist on my front page. You guys can go check that out. Quite a cool amount of different like planet reviews and stuff like that on there. So either way, man, later, dudes.